To talk about some of those players that's coming in helping the transfer portal. You guys took 16
Mhm,
players from the transfer portal so far. You know what I'm saying? One of the glaring weaknesses along with that front seven was the offensive line.
mhm.
Now, I believe a little bit of that was players, but I think I personally think some of that was coaching. The offensive line coach, the guy Bill whatever his name
Boyle,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, Bill O'Boy. And it's up in the air whether you guys are gonna keep him or not. Right? Or
No,
is
no,
he
he's gone. He's gone
oh
off to
okay.
San Diego State. He was kind of a package deal coming over here with
Sean
Sean
Lewis.
Lewis. So
Okay.
he's out of there. We now have who was an analyst most recently at Oklahoma, spent time at Ole Miss prior to that, and started, I think, for 7 years in the NFL with the Vikings, Phil Loadholt. So
Okay.
he's been hired now, and again, I guess this is his first official like assistant coach position,
Yeah.
rather than being an analyst or in player personnel. But yeah, I'm hoping that this is an upgrade. Again, I don't think we could have gotten any worse offensive line play than we did this past year. And I feel like I'm in a little bit more of the minority of opinion on this coach. I'm gonna put most of it on the coaching, man. Like,
Yeah. I
um,
me too, because
y-
I feel like you
yeah,
guys brought in some guys that were from good programs last
mhm,
year. And where you had even on the defensive side, when we were talking about that front seven, a lot of those guys played at top-notch programs, whether they got a lot of playing time or not, they still went through practice, got the tutelage and all of that. So it's not like if that they had to stayed at those same programs, I don't know if they perform as less than than they did at Colorado. So I
Well,
think some of that's coaching.
mhm.
and to me, I don't think that the play calling did any sort of help in protecting the offensive line, whether it's moving the offensive line and rollouts and using short athleticism, quick hitters, whether it's slants or all the bubbles and
Mhm.
screens, or just pure running the ball. I feel like everything in his passing game is all like 5-step drops and it's everything trying to go deep and show off the arm. And you just can't do that when your offensive line is subpar.
No,
So
no, definitely. I think, there were a lot of things this past year's stat guy that just left a lot of us fans, scratching our heads and whatnot. But I think, just like anytime you move up a level, I mean, there's learning, there's mistakes, all of that. Coach Prime did a presser a couple weeks ago where he's saying like, I need to be better in the game management. I've learned a lot of things throughout this, and I think, um, and this is my take on it. I think because he hired Sean Lewis, he didn't even interview Bill O'Boyle for this offensive line coach position, and it was very clear that he was very hands-on and involved in the hiring of Phil Oldholt. And hopefully, again, this is just another learning. So I'm
Mhm.
expecting us to have a more balanced approach this past year. Again, anytime the quarterback and who was also your son gets sacked 56 times, you have to go into the offseason with a plan to adjust things. So I'm hoping for at
Right.
least a little bit more of a balanced approach next year.
Yeah, you guys attacked the transfer portal, got 4 offensive linemen, and me and you discussed before the Colorado guys. The Colorado Nation kind of Buff Nation kind of jumped on me in my first video when I said that the offensive line wasn't big enough. I'm like, and they wasn't big enough. Like the tackles were huge, but the interior where you need that's the interior is made. You recruit and develop those guys for the run game. You recruit and develop tackles for the pass game, even though they both have to partake in both aspects of the offense.
Mhm.
But I was like, you can't come in there with a 6'2", 290 guy and think they can protect the quarterback for a long period of time. So, but you guys did address that. You got a tackle from Indiana, Khalil Benson,
Mhm.
6'6", 300, only allowed 1 sack at Indiana this past season. The so-called number one interior offensive lineman transfer out of Houston, Tyler Johnson.
Yep.
He's 6'5", 320. That's what I'm saying. You got to have 6'5", 320 on the interior if you want to run the ball.
Mhm.
Now, the UConn transfer, Yakiri Walker, he's a little bit light in the pants
Yeah.
for offensive lineman. So,
Uh-huh.
but he has started 17 games. Yeah, that's that guy told me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So we'll see. 6'3", 267. That's almost like an oversized tight end. I
Yeah.
don't know about that one. So, but UTEP transfer Justin Myers is 6'3", 309. Again, short, but he's thick in the, what I'm saying, in the bottom. So, what I'm saying, he can have that wide base. So how you feeling about this offensive line haul y'all got so far?
Man, I'm feeling much better about it. I think again, I feel like a lot of times the fans, it's like you either have an amazing line or an elite line. Like, hey, I'm just hoping, man, can we just get to average play within FBS? Because I feel like if we can just get to an average ranking, like this offense is going to, be humming so much better compared to where it was this past year. I think on the interior is where I feel a lot better about. Again, Tyler Johnson, I think, is a guy that you can expect to be a starter here. Big 12 starter. Okay. Last year at
Mhm.
Houston. Um, we got Justin Mayers coming out here from UTEP, who had a ton of offers and one of the top offensive linemen in the portal this past year. I think that he's going to be starting in the interior. What's interesting is going to be what's happening here at the center position. I think most likely a name that we've forgotten about that we were expecting him to be a big time player for us this past year, but didn't get the waiver, Tyler Brown.
Yeah.
All FCS offensive lineman. He played guard at Jackson State, but also took some snaps at center. I would expect him right now, if I had to put my money on somebody, him to be our starting center. And he's another guy that's like 310, 315 pounds. So the biggest question mark right now is what's going to happen at tackle. Again, if Jordan Seaton signs, then we're in a lot better position, I feel like, than where we're at right now. I think that Khalil Benson, um, he's very strong in the run game. That is something that our tackles and really our entire offensive line really struggled with this past year. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this whole rotation or tackle position shakes out, because honestly, and I get kind of reamed for this take, I don't really feel like there's much difference between Khalil Benson and Savion Washington. We're just going to have to see what happens. Savion Washington was great in the first half of the season before his ankle injury. But I mean, y'all saw this offensive line, man. A one ankled Savion Washington was better than anything else we could have put at right tackle. And it was just one of those things. So before his injury, he was by far our best graded lineman. And yeah, we're just going to have to see where this whole thing shakes out. But if Seaton signs, you got three guys there as opposed to right now two. Before we talk about, maybe a guy that transferred over here from Florida like David Connor, maybe he might get some time or something like
Yeah.
that. We'll just have to see.
Stat guy, your feelings on the transfer portal or the recruiting class? Like I say, y'all brought in 5 in the recruiting because of the 16 in the transfer portal. So
Mhm.
I guess I was in doing my homework on it. I was very shocked that if they get Seaton on campus, that would be the only offensive lineman that they went and got from high school. I mean, they did make it a priority in the portal, but you got to get younger as well. You don't want to keep getting these guys that have 1 year of eligibility left, because then you're flipping and making a brand new offensive line every year, and you don't have that cohesive unit to
Mhm.
kind of build on. But I will say he did a much better job of, again, at least the build of the guys he went and got this year.
Yes.
Last year it was a lot of 6'1", 6'2", 280, 275. At least this year he went and got guys that are Big 12 ready
Yeah.
size wise. Not saying that they're going to come in and pan out. They might be just as bad as y'all's offensive line was last year, but it won't be because of lack of size.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And again, it's just trying to have the best we can to not let our just emotion dictate, our expectation all the time. Again, I just want to get to average FBS ranking. That might seem low for some people, but if we can get there, I feel much better. I think a big difference with this portal period compared to last year is that Savion Washington was probably our best transfer that we brought in on the offensive line. That's still a G5 player. Justin Mayers is a G5 player. So again, there are exceptions. I mean, Oregon's right tackle this past year came up from the G5 ranks, but
yeah,
this year it's been nice to see we're bringing in starters, a handful of guys who have started at the Power 5 level, whether that be in the Big 12 or the Big 10. I think just because of that, we will get an increase. Again, surely it can't get any worse, guys. Surely
right.
it can't, right?
Well,
Right, you're looking to go from, like you said, 56 sacks to a minimum of,
30.
a maximum of 30.
Yeah.
If you go from 56 to 30, then the offensive line has increased. You know what I'm saying? So, and being able to run the ball a little bit more.
Yes.
And you saying, I mean, that I don't think saying you want to be middle of the road in the FBS is that bad, because when you're talking about being one of the worst offensive lines in the country to just making that next jump to being okay, that's a huge. You're talking about cutting your sacks in half. That's a lot more balls that are getting out of Shador's hands
Mhm.
that could become home runs or whatever else with some of the
First downs. First
first
down.
downs, or him taking off running. I mean, they have talent on the outside and he has talent. You cut the sacks in half and that offense is completely different. The
Yeah.
only other question I know there's still a couple more big name tackles that haven't signed yet in the portal. Are y'all in the hunt for any of those guys? I know like the guy from Texas Tech, and some others. Are y'all getting visits or in the line to try to get some of them?
Man, I hope so. It's real hard to get a read on this program because they like they really do operate kind of in the shadows, so to speak. So I'm hoping, this is my hope, stat guy, is that we can bring in another 3 to 4 offensive linemen. I know we have some scholarship spots to kind of finesse. I would expect some more guys to hit this portal. Um, after the holidays and everything like that. We'll just have to see. But I think it's still, I feel, again, much better about the interior than I did a month ago. Tackle is still something that we need more depth. We need more competition there. And I did want to comment on your other point that I didn't touch on regarding the high school recruiting right now. Yeah, Jordan Seaton's our only guy that we have committed, and hopefully he signs being brought in. We were making a really hard run at Shaq McCroy, that 365 tackle, I think out of Alabama, that committed to Oregon or signed with Oregon on Wednesday. And I think we tried to give our best pitch out to Caden Green transferring from Oklahoma. So there's been some guys that we've tried to be, right there with, but we've just struck out. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Prime, the rest of the staff moves forward and how they fill that need. I don't think we're done yet. I do hope to see some more, some more high school guys. And I know there's probably not a ton left, but we still have till February brought in. We did just sign, I guess this is more of a preferred walk-on, but the starting center at IMG today ended up committing to us as a preferred walk-on, had PWO offers from Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and USF as well. Not really sure why he wasn't rated if you're a starting offensive lineman for IMG, but that's, hey, it's another guy that hopefully we can develop.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And also in the portal, you guys did address the defensive, front guys. You got some guys from programs again that you would think know how to develop people. You got Anquan Barnes from Alabama. You got Quincy Wiggins from LSU. Looks like and both of those guys are defensive linemen. Then you got an edge from Kentucky. So it looks like he definitely Samuel Akun Lolo from Pitt.
Yeah.
Again, Pitt is always known for defense, so it did look like you guys got some guys there. And then, like you said it earlier, Will Shepherd on the outside on offense. Where I'm really wondering where the help is coming from is Hankerson, the running back. He left for Oregon State, and then I mean him and Wilkerson and Edwards were you guys is 3 guys. Edwards coming back, he was a true freshman. But what about Wilkerson? Is he out of eligibility or did he transfer?
Wilkerson will be here.
Okay.
And as well as I think the plan is for McCaskill to kind of be that guy next year as well. And then we also, one of our 5 signees that we have right now is running back Michael Welsh. I believe he's out of the state of Georgia. So we do have 4. It would be nice to have another running back come in here, but a big emphasis this portal period, was on the front 7. I think our edge positions have gotten a lot better. Guys like Samuel Okunloa, redshirt freshman from Pitt, had 5 sacks this past year. I think you can kind of pencil him in as a starting edge for us, as well as the transfer from Kentucky, Keaton Wade. He was very productive during his time at Kentucky, and from what I read, what I believe is that Kentucky was expecting him to kind of take that next jump and be one of their primary defenders this next year. So we have him as well as his twin brother Destin Wade, who's a quarterback 4-star guy out of high school. He's going to come in here and compete for that QB2 spot. But yeah, I like those starting edges with Wade and Okunloa. Guys like Quincy Wiggins and Quinn Barnes, these are guys on the defensive line that highly recruited. Wiggins was the top player in Louisiana a couple of years ago, hasn't gotten any snaps at LSU. Same with Barnes, highly recruited guy, hasn't really gotten any playing time at Alabama. Can they kind of, you know, find themselves again?
Right, right,
With the
right.
change of scenery, we've seen players where this has worked out for before, and then we took a shot on a couple guys in this similar situation this past year where it didn't work out, such as Savell Smalls. So we're just going to have to see how this pans out. But I think like those guys that we're bringing in from Alabama or from LSU right now, it is not needed, in my opinion, for them to be a starter. But if they can get to the point where they are productive rotational players for us, that's absolutely huge. And the last transfer that I really wanted to spend time speaking on, well, there's two. Preston Hodge, he's going to
Mhm.
play slot corner for us. Graded out, I think, is one of the top 20 defensive backs in all of college football this past year. He's going to play slot corner for us. He's going to be great. Going to really help add to this already talented secondary, as well as Houston interior defensive lineman Chidozie Wankwo. He's a guy, again, only measures 5'10", 295, but if you turn on the film, you can kind of see that wrestling background that he has, holds his weight very, very well.
Mhm.
He has not moved off the line easily. And again, another Big 12 starter coming in here. It's something that we didn't bring in on the line where any guys starting last year at the Power 5 level. So, well, I guess other than Jordan Dominic and the other guys were rotational guys, if anything,
Yeah,
um, at
if
the
they were
Power 5
getting playing
level.
time, yeah.
So, yeah, so he's big. I would hope that we can get a defensive tackle that we brought in for a visit, 320-pound lineman, Chris McClellan, player at Florida. He would be huge. I'm still hoping to see him sign, but we still got more work to do in the trenches. We've made a lot of progress, but we're not where we need to be yet.
Yeah.
Well, I
Go ahead.
got a question. So back to kind of the high school part, who, where are kind of some states that people, if they're wanting to follow Colorado recruiting, can be looking at? What are kind of like y'all's pipeline states as y'all looking to finish off this class in February, or even people this spring getting an early jump on the 25 class? What are states that y'all are kind of like pipeline to? Obviously, with Prime, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
He has a brand, he can recruit nationally. But what's kind of like y'all's home run state y'all like to live in?
Yeah, well, yeah, this has changed quite a bit. So we're getting a lot more players coming here from Florida, which is fantastic. Georgia at the high school ranks has been a state that we've hit really, really hard. Some of that had to do with Nick Williams. Some of that still has to do with Charles Kelly as our defensive coordinator. But the state of Georgia, keep on the lookout for them, as well as how can you ignore the state of Texas with Prime, right? And I think that's really important with him. And see you coming back to the Big 12. We do have, hey, this is a top 10 graded signee of all time in the history of Colorado, but wide receiver Draylon Miller out of Silsbee, Texas, outside of Houston. Yeah, I think those big time college football power or high school football powerhouse states, Colorado's wanting to focus on those states. Some people have argued, hey, don't we need to recruit the guys in Colorado and all that? And hey, I love it when local guys are on the team. I love it. But at the end of the day, our top ranked player in this state was ranked in 87 this year. So Colorado, they're going to keep the high school class small. They want to focus on quality over quantity. And I mean, you see that with the guys that they've brought in. Jordan Seaton, again, we'll see what happens with that. 5-star. Draylon Miller, Cam Michael, Brandon Davis Swain on the defensive line, all 4-star rated players. Eric Brantley, an 89 3-star. Michael Welsh, a 3-star running back, but out of the state of Georgia. So I think you'll continue to see that approach that maybe you've seen, for instance, with SMU or FSU, being a little bit more transfer portal heavy. And we're just going to have to see how it shakes out.
jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound, let's go eat. Turn on the fan at it, let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off their plate?